Was 2025 the season of crash out, or was that just me? Every single step that I went through to try to get this podcast on the air, I was met with another challenge. You just have to grind harder than everybody else. So last night I was going through my phone. I was looking back at all the different content that I made, and I was just trying to organize everything into a folder. As I was going through everything, I have done so much more than I even realized that I have done. It gave me a moment of pause where I realized it's time to stop crashing out, number one. Number two, it's time to actually be proud of myself and just continue pushing through the cringe. If you're watching with me on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. This is officially my first chaotic podcast YouTube video, and jumping in scared, jumping in cringe. Please subscribe if you want to follow along the journey, and let's get into it. Let's just get right into what we all know. The audio did not work in my last episode. It felt like my biggest fail because I love that episode with my friend Angel, which is the last episode. If you haven't listened to it, just know I know the audio is not where it should be. And actually, I sat on that episode for almost 2 months because I just felt like the quality wasn't up to what I was capable of producing. And it really crippled me. And I think that was a theme for me all throughout 2025, was being crippled by perfectionism. My best friend just said this to me the other day. She was like, Kaylee, don't let perfectionism cripple you. I couldn't believe it was happening again, yet it's still my biggest struggle. What happened was it only recorded my microphone in my nice crisp audio, and my guest, Angel, her microphone did not record. So I had to use my backup audio, which I'm glad I had because everything she had to say was so important, I think, for everyone to hear. And she was so brave for just telling her truth and her story. I felt a sense of responsibility for not being able to capture just everything she had to say in the way that I knew it would be better delivered. Does that make sense? A little backstory. I've always wanted to start the podcast. It was something I've always talked about. How fun would it be to just start a podcast, be yappy, tell my opinions, tell my hot takes. Not that I think I'm funny, but some people think I'm funny and some people don't, okay? Some people don't think I'm funny. This was something that I wanted to do for a long time. What began this journey was my boyfriend got me a microphone, a podcasting microphone for Christmas. It was on my list, of course. It really propelled me to just go for it. I was so excited. And when I tell you that I was up, absolutely up all night for days and days, and I was watching YouTube videos and looking on Instagram and on ChatGPT, researching and trying to figure out how I'm going to start the podcast. What am I going to talk about? What do people care about? How should I talk about it? How do I use the equipment? What equipment do I use to record? And basically all the basics. It took me 2 months of just head in the books, or should I say head into YouTube, before I actually launched the podcast with my first episode, which was in March. I was really excited about that. I planned it. I recorded it. Seth was my first guest. I thought we did great. However, it was not without challenges, let's say. Obviously, I learned so much. The first thing being I was so nervous. What I did not anticipate is how long or how difficult it would be to edit the podcast. How I knew nothing about color grading. I knew nothing about editing. I was trying to teach myself how to use Premiere Pro from nothing. During that editing process, the biggest issue I had is we recorded on 2 different microphones, which was fine, but the microphone that I was using picked up so much feedback. and I could hear everything in my line of recording. Every time he spoke, there was like an echo. It was almost impossible to edit out. And when I tell you it took me over 10 hours to edit that episode, I am not being dramatic. And it might have even took me even longer. And then I had to learn how to cut it up into shorts. There were different apps that I tried to use, but they didn't cut right, or it distorted the quality of the footage. It distorted the quality of the file. I didn't know anything about recording file sizes, and my videos were so big, I couldn't get them to upload on anything. I tried to use a couple AI editors, and my videos were just too big, and I didn't know how to shrink them. So then I had to learn how to shrink them. And every single step that I went through to try to get this podcast on the air, I was met with another challenge. And so it took some time to get to the second episode. I tried a solo episode and I realized I am so uncomfortable. I had things that I wanted to say, but I just couldn't communicate them in the way that I wanted to. I feel like that right now because I have not done a solo episode in quite some time. If I'm rambling, bear with me. We're going to get better. That's the 2026 motto. Every day we are getting better. 2026 motto. Long story, long to say, when I had my next guest, I did sample recordings. I tried to make sure everything was right. The audio I finally got down, but my microphone just was not good. It was so hard to get like the audio right. And that's what mattered. I finally figured it out with the freaking audio. And then when I had my third guest on the podcast, we recorded and I was feeling like this was my best episode yet. I had so much more confidence, so much more know-how and skills, because at this point I had been putting in hours and hours of learning and tutorials and YouTube, still just learning how to edit, learning how to mix audio, learning how to fix the audio that I recorded so badly. And guys, when I tell you, I cried when I found out that both microphones recorded on the same track. It was so difficult to edit again, and I thought I had it right that time. So fast forward to the last episode with Angel, I was like, all right, I've been through the drama. I know what I'm doing. I tested it. I edited. I did all the things, and it only recorded one microphone. So I'm done. I'm done with that. I have learned. We're moving on. My big podcast goal for 2025 was to post 10 episodes. Most podcasts die after 10 episodes, and I am so proud to say we made it to 11 episodes, even if some of them were really short and not best of quality. We did it. To everybody who's new here, I need you to know that this journey has been a long one, and I am so glad you're here. I really can't believe that in 2025, I learned how to edit a podcast. I started taking social media seriously. I was freshly postpartum. I had to return to work from maternity leave. I was breastfeeding and then I stopped breastfeeding, which is a whole situation if you have any idea. You know, I'm not trying to get in like reflect mode, but I've spent a lot of time replaying those imposter syndrome comments in my mind. Like, Kaylee, what are you doing? You have no idea how to do this. You don't know anything about videography. You don't know anything about a podcast. You have nothing important to say. Just so many negative thoughts that I've had in my mind in 2025. And I don't want to blame them all on postpartum, but I feel like that has had a lot to do with my mindset. My hormones have had a lot to do with stopping me from progressing to where I want to go. So I'm feeling really good going into 2026 about showing up messy. I wanted to record this episode back in December to have it released in January, like January 1. We were going to be like, we're back, bitches. But life happens and I didn't get to it. If sharing any of that like defeat story with the podcast and the embarrassment of not being able to do it right does anything for you, I just hope that you realize like January 14th, you can start. January, first of all, right now, January is not over. The beginning of the year doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. Start your podcast, start posting on social media, start your small business, like get out there and start doing things. Those of you who don't know, I also do wedding content creating, and I did a Bridal Fest show here in Spokane, Washington last weekend. And when I tell you, I feel like I've never grinded harder in my life. I am not kidding. Everybody in my house got the stomach flu, and it hit me in the middle of the convention. First, it started with the baby, which, to be fair, babies are kind of throwing up and barfing all the time. So I wasn't totally sure what was going on, but she got sick on Thursday. And then my man started feeling sick Friday night. And when we woke up on Saturday, he told me like his stomach wasn't feeling really well. And then I was giving him a hard time. I was like, baby, you're 30. You can't eat Mexican food anymore. He's like, no, that's not it. But I didn't believe him, obviously, because we've seen him with the man cold. I went to the bridal convention and I was working the convention. I was pitching myself all day, high energy, like really excited to be there and really excited to like meet all the brides and potentially like book weddings. And then I started feeling nauseous, and then I started feeling dizzy. And then I had to leave 30 minutes early because I just really wasn't feeling well. And by the time I came home, I was so ill. Like, I was so sick. I was throwing up. I was rolling around in my bed, whining, like, God, no. Like, what am I going to do tomorrow? I had a bride that I booked that I needed to send an invoice to, and I literally couldn't even send it. I was like, what am I going to do? She's not going to book me. Like, I told her I was going to send it when I got home, and here I am like dying. And I just felt so terrible. I was like, the whole time I'm thinking, how am I going to do this tomorrow? Thank God I started to feel a little bit better in the middle of the night. But when I woke up the next day, obviously with a headache, dehydrated, still really dying, I was driving back to day 2 of the bridal convention, and I really felt like this is the moment. Like, these are the moments where you just have to grind harder than everybody else. I was texting my best friend that I was on my way back, and she literally was hyping me up. She was like, you're doing it, girl. You're grinding. Literally told me like, this is where most people quit, and you're doing it. And I've never needed to hear anything more in my life. I know that not everybody is like trying to run their own business or trying to make money online or trying to have a podcast or any of that. But I think it's so important to realize that when these moments get really hard is when your true character comes out and you get to see what you're actually made of. Let me leave you with this. If you haven't yet, take a minute, look back, look at everything you tried to accomplish last year, go down the list. What have you done? I mean, look at your failures. I'm sure there's lots of them because I have so many, but in all of those failures, I learned so much every time. And I've met some incredible people along the way. And I'm really excited to get to introduce you to more of them and share more stories. 2026, we're thriving. We're pushing through perfectionism, and we don't care who's watching. Okay, bye.